Ed Gainey's press secretary. And today we're here for a celebration of the longtime owner occupant tax exemption program, better known as LOOP. This will allow the city the authority to implement its own program to protect homeowners from the upward taxation pressure in developing communities. Homeowners will not be priced out of their neighborhoods where they have lived for many years or sometimes generations. To speak upon the impact this will have upon the community is Kyle C. Webster, VP of Housing and General Counsel at Action Housing. Kyle?
Thank you, Olga. As Olga said, my name is Kyle Webster, and I'm the Vice President of Housing and General Counsel at Action Housing. I want to start off by thanking our local leadership, specifically Mayor Gainey and State Senator Costa, for prioritizing this important issue and inviting me to be here. As someone on the front lines of preserving affordable housing in this region, I know firsthand that ensuring affordable housing for all must include low-income homeowners. This is why programs like weatherization, whole home repairs, and the Housing Opportunity Fund's Homeowner Assistance Program, as well as the programs of Women for a Healthy Environment and Rebuilding Together Pittsburgh, amongst others, are vital to our region, as they keep individuals housed who otherwise might be forced to sell, or worse, vacate and abandon their family homes. In addition to these needs, Pittsburgh's development is changing the value of the neighborhoods around many of our region's long-term homeowners. The resulting increases in their property taxes is yet another rising cost, while their fixed incomes remain the same. Today's LOOPS legislation ensures that our seniors and wisdom keepers benefit from Pittsburgh's development by the simple act of not being priced out of the homes they've resided in for, at times, decades. I bought my house 8 years ago. I'm in the midst of my career. I should be paying a higher tax rate on my home than my senior neighbors. Those who have put in the time and have helped their communities achieve their current economic success need to be protected. This legislation is an exciting and important effort to make that happen. On a personal note, I live in one of the communities best poised to be impacted by this legislation, Lawrenceville. On my block, I have a neighbor who is a widow who bought her home with her husband back in 1977 when they were newlyweds. There's another woman in her 60s who is raised in the house where she currently lives with her brother and 2 adult children. Both of these neighbors live on fixed incomes. Both are vital members of our block and of our community and are lifelong residents of Lawrenceville. These neighbors deserve to age in place in our community. They have expressed anxieties to me over the threat of a blanket reassessment, not because they don't want to pay taxes, but because they can't. Their Social Security and pensions don't care what Lawrenceville has become, and they shouldn't have to sell their long-term family home for survival. On behalf of my community, I want to thank you for getting this done and for doing what is necessary to keep my neighborhood intact and keep these neighbors in their homes. A truly vibrant Pittsburgh welcomes newer arrivals like me while ensuring those who build the community, our wisdom keepers, can age in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Now, when you hear about LOOP, you should understand it's one of the toolkits that the city will now have to make it possible to have affordable housing. Many people think when you're talking about affordable housing, that is just getting people into homes. It's also giving the homeowners the ability to stay in their homes, because think about it. If someone cannot afford the taxes on their homes and they have to sell or they're forced out, what do they become? They become unhoused. That is something that we are trying our hardest to prevent. Now, the bill amendment gives us the authority to help homeowners, something Philly and other municipalities and counties had before us. And to speak upon that is the man who helped push it across the finish line, Senator Jay Costa.
Thank you very much, and good morning, and thank all of you for being here and to really talk about this very important legislation that's been described by the previous speakers. I'm very fortunate to have my colleagues who are here with us who are very supportive of our effort. My colleague, State Senator Wayne Fontana and State Senator Lindsey Williams, who in the Senate worked closely on a couple of occasions to get this to the finish line through the Senate. But also my colleague, Representative Majority Whip Dan Miller, who helped navigate and shepherd the legislation through the Pennsylvania House of Representatives onto the governor's desk. That was no small order, and I think I want to appreciate the work of each of the members, all of whom represent parts of the city of Pittsburgh as I do. This legislation, I had the chance to work with then Representative Ed Gainey when we both came together, and he brought the idea to our attention. We need to do something along these lines. And we introduced the legislation a number of years ago. And we're fortunate, of course, to be able to get it across the finish line at this point in time. You already heard about the benefit of the long-time owner-occupant program. Now the city of Pittsburgh has the opportunity to preserve, make certain that those folks, those wisdom keepers, as Kyle talked about, have the opportunity to stay in their community and not be priced out because of things that are taking place in and around the community. It's wonderful to see growth in our neighborhoods, but also I think it's important that we have the mix and the blend of both new residents, but also longtime owner occupants, because that's the foundation, that's the stabilization of the neighborhoods that we have and we want to maintain. And that's what this legislation is designed to do. So as we go forward, we're looking forward to working with the city of Pittsburgh as they establish this program to meet the needs of those longtime owner occupants who want to stay in their neighborhoods, who want to stay in their homes. This provides them the opportunity of not being priced out, something that they've worked hard to maintain, and they want to continue to be part of our communities. So I'm very pleased that the governor signed the legislation. I want to thank my colleagues for their support. So thank you.
Now, the representatives and the senator are aware of the impact of Loop. And when he was a representative, he also understood why this was necessary, because a neighborhood is not just brick and mortar, it's the people. And without affordable homes, these neighborhoods will die. Next is our Honorable City of Pittsburgh, Mayor Ed Gainey.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank everybody for being here. I appreciate the participation of everybody. Over the last few months, we've made great strides in the city towards making sure that we bring affordable housing to the city of Pittsburgh. Just last week, we presented several proposed zoning amendments to help diversify the housing options in our communities. The long-time owner-occupant tax-exempt program, or LOOP as we call it, legislation, is a bill that I championed during my time as a state representative. I saw how similar legislation was helping residents in other parts of the state, and I understood the impact this bill could have right here in our most livable city. LOOP is a tool that will be used to ensure that affordable housing remains that affordable. And I want to thank the gentleman from Lawrenceville for talking about it, because far too often we've seen so many people be outpriced in their homes. And I think Lawrenceville is a great case study. And to hear a resident from Lawrenceville talk about it demonstrates why this bill is so important. Think about it. You lived in your neighborhood for years, your whole life, worked to maintain the home, and all of a sudden, the possibility of losing it is now real. With LOOP, we will be able to create a way to help homeowners handle upward taxation pressures. So residents who live in their house for years or generational homes will be able to remain in the communities in which they grew up in. And we know that is a Pittsburgh tradition. And I wanted to also thank Senator Costa, who I always say is one of the most intelligent senators and state reps throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'd like to thank Senator Fontana and Senator Williams for their help as well. And I also like to thank my guy, Dan Miller, for all he does to help make sure that this is a great city, and always pushing for legislation that's going to help people. Representative Miller, I just want to say thank you. And I just want to thank everybody who helped push this bill. I want to thank Governor Shapiro for signing it. I believe that this will do wonders in helping people stay in their homes. I believe that this is just another tool in the toolbox of affordability that we need to ensure that we're doing right for the residents of our city. And so with that, I say thank you. And after years of fighting for it, Jay Costa, the man, brought it over the goal line. Thank you.
At this time, I'll take any questions from the media. He asked about the application process.
So if I heard your question correctly, how will this be worked out? So the city of Pittsburgh is now empowered to create a program that looks at a length of time a person lived in a home and designate a neighborhood very specifically by blocks and streets, et cetera. And then they can implement a program with respect to the exemption or postponement or deferment of property taxes that would be paid by that individual homeowner. Yes, essentially, that's it. Yes.
Revenue. Five. What is the makeup? Obviously, they did generate tax revenue. Is it a cap or is it a actual?
It could be, it's at the discretion of the city council and what the mayor would sign. But I do think though, with respect to your question about there are a small amount of lost revenue that would be here. I think at the end of the day, it's about finding the right balance. The balance is with respect to the neighborhood to ensure that you have continuity and stability in the neighborhood, quite frankly, which works to the economic benefit of the folks who live there in that community. It preserves and maintains the housing along those lines and allows those folks to stay in those homes.
Those within time and that they are the overall long-term development of the city. About the people.
Yeah, it's hard to hear.
Just saying that.
It's extremely important.
Go ahead.
And the reason why it's important is because these people have lived there their whole life. And this is the community they know. And also from a transportation standpoint, it gets them to be able to get to the medical facility. It gets the children to be able to get to school. It stabilizes the network that they have in place already, their safety net, to be able to make sure that they're by people that they grew up with, family members that they have. And in regards to the cap and the revenue that we discussed, that's all part of us creating our policy at a local level to ensure that we're doing what's right by the city.
And somebody, say grandfather in on this program, you see over like in the Mexican war streets, those houses with no.
Right. It's a great question. And those are the policy things that we will be going over to develop as it goes forward. So right now, the state passed the law. We understand what's incorporated by the law. It's up to us to be able to put a program together that fits the city of Pittsburgh. No.
Maybe no.
Not right now.
I think what's important to note is before the city of Pittsburgh can adopt this program, there are public hearings required where all these things you're referring to will be worked out. Again, it's about finding the appropriate balance between tax revenue, about stability, and making sure folks can stay in their home. And that's what the purpose of the hearings are.
And Representative Dan Miller, look, and I just want to point here, not only with what Senator Costa just mentioned, but the good Mayor Gainey as well. We knew that this is a process that needed to start. It was at the top of the list. To be honest, what I'm proud of too is it shows how the state and the city work together. I also want to recognize our county exec as well, who played a role in sort of designing the legislation too. Look, the reality of it is that we had to come together and recognize a regional need that needed to be addressed. We've seen other models. This is not, we're not creating something out of thin air. This is a system that has worked in other places as well. The mayor identified the priority, working with Senator Costa, that we were able to get this across with the House. And look, the thing that I love about it the most is not only does it provide options for the mayor to work with the city council to craft a program that he knows will be in best shape for as many people as possible. But it also really shows where we're trying to go in the leadership side, which is we need to work city, county, state, and the federal under the leadership of Ed Gainey in this regard for the city to get things done for Pittsburgh residents. And that's what we did with this legislation. I'm excited to see what the city does next.
Thank you all for attending. Have a good day.